For many years, this was one of my most desired LEGO Star Wars sets, and yes, I know the set is incomplete, just bear with me, I'll explain that a little bit later on. Tusken Raiders here in a classic design, Anakin in a gorgeous dark red speeder is something that I desire to be brought back into the modern era of LEGO Star Wars. This is the Tusken Raider Encounter. It retailed for $10 back in the day, but today you're looking at around 50 NZ for an open set or more than 100 sealed. I think I paid like $40 for this, which I thought was pretty okay, although I do feel I was misled on something, we'll get into that. The overview here is Anakin and 2 Tusken Raiders as the minifigure inclusions, which are a pretty solid bunch. Anakin comes with a red speeder and also a moisture evaporator build, something regularly changing in its design and style, so it's always fun to have a new one to add to that little collection. I'll start with the elephant in the room and why I've always been disappointed. His hair's wrong. Fundamentally it's wrong. It's the wrong piece. The seller absolutely never disclosed that the hair would be the wrong piece, and then they ghosted me when I tried to contact them, so that's fun. That's a good laugh. The funniest thing I think about his specific hairpiece is that that hair was released in dark nougat color only twice. Anakin featured in this set and the speeder set from the same wave, which is more expensive than this set, and it was also on Vernon Dursley from the Harry Potter Escape from Privet Drive set, which is also more expensive than this set. So I'm shit out of luck, aren't I? The closest hair colors that I have are like Tim's from Jurassic Park or Obi-Wan Phantom Menace from like the future sets, and neither of them really work. It's the wrong color. Also, his face is rubbing off. Whatever. Anakin's pretty cool. He's exclusive to this set actually because the other speeder does not include his cape, and I believe that's the only difference here. Torso piece is pretty close to that Revenge of the Sith design that would be used a little bit later on. He has a Padawan braid here and that hard cape that they've stopped using, but sometimes they still do use. I don't know, a couple figures I think in the future have used it as well. Older style lightsaber with the chipping hilt. Very fun nostalgia. This is the Tusken Raider. I think it's a really cool figure actually. I love the special prints that are on his torso, and the head is pretty good as well. I know that the 3D sculpted head is better, but I'm glad that I have this because I think it's a pretty useful design for a different Apocalypse mock or some custom figures, you know? I love the use of old pirate muskets here in black as well. I've mentioned before, I love LEGO specific weapons that are used outside of Star Wars, that are brought into Star Wars sets as an unknown object. I think it's really cool. I'm satisfied with these guys. 2 of these guys are included as well, so no need to study the other one. The Moisture Tower is a pretty cool Tatooine inclusion. I'm very fond of this. The prequels LEGO sets are pretty heavy on Tatooine, so it's very nostalgic for me. I'll be saying that word a lot in all of these reviews. It's a pretty simple tower build with a brick built base at the bottom, and then there's these circular bricks that build upwards. They form a tower. There are some parts that are reminiscent of arms holding antenna pieces, and a taller part at the top in case some of those antennas aren't working, I guess. I don't know how these things work, but I'm not convinced that George Lucas or LEGO do either, but it does make for a definitive Star Wars looking item. The build is featured on a hinge so that the base here can expose a couple of lights or electronics. And this tile here looks like it could be the blue milk being harvested. Not sure, maybe it's just water. It's really cool though. There's also this hinge piece here which can be used to maybe hold this tower up or lock it into place. Unclear. Anakin Speeder is a really cool design that feels like a hot rod to me, mostly due to that colouring. The build is pretty close to the modern ones I feel, so this is a really cool look of an idea for what would be the best version later on in the future. There's a couple of moving parts on this build, and some of the pieces used to build this I don't see very often in other LEGO Speeders, like the back section here, which features a couple of parts that I think are outdated now. Older style set means no compartment for Anakin's weapon. He simply has to hold on to it like he's performing a drive-by, which is depicted on the box in the instructions actually. Anakin's placement on the bike is pretty tricky. He fits in as well as every other minifigure does, but the cape is what kind of gets in the way. This means that you have to position the cape like this, so it looks as though it's responding to the winds, which I do think is a lot of fun for some display purposes. It reminds me of all the troubles that I had with Batman toys as a kid, as well as the LEGO minifigures, so it's funny to see that LEGO were having the same issues with their toys as other companies did back then. No box, sorry. Boxes just aren't super likely with an NZ reseller, but the instructions were given, which is a rarity as well, I might add. I don't think I'll ever get over the Star Wars theming. I miss this so much. But the advertisements are where it's at, baby. We have the Bounty Hunter Pursuit Speeder set, a set that has never been remade. Still pretty good to this day. We have the very set that we just bought, which is a clear indicator that these ads were mass produced and just put into everything. Jango Fett Slave 1 and Jedi Starfighter, gorgeous builds, and this Jedi Duel set that features Count Dooku and Yoda probably the best set of the Attack of the Clones wave. The final duel and Jedi Defenses 1 and 2 are there, and Yoda is cruising the web. A small set that's still great today. The speeder, the tower, the figures make for a solid representation of when a LEGO Star Wars set is at its absolute best. If you enjoyed this retro review, liking and subscribing helps to support the channel. Stick around for some retro Star Wars reviews. Take care.